The stamp tool is perfect for making foundations, as this icon suggests. What it does is it creates a geometrical bridge between a flat surface, representing the building footprint, and the organic landform. To see how this works, I'm going to go ahead and draw the building footprint off to the side. I think I'll make a hexagon that represents this sort of unusual building footprint. I'll reverse this face so that it's pointing upward, and then I'll move the hexagon over so that it's overlying the landform, and then I'll move it up in the blue direction so that it's well above the landscape. Go ahead and click the stamp tool with the building footprint pre-selected, and then click on the landscape and see what happens. As I move the cursor up and down, you can see that I can either excavate or fill, or some combination of the two, to create a foundation for my building. I can then later go ahead and get rid of this floating object and build my house right here on this flat surface. The Drape tool allows you to project a flat surface onto an organic form, such as a landscape. And this is used for things like cutting up your landscape into different zones, which are going to receive different materials. This might be good for a planting plan, or perhaps for a path that you want to represent on the surface of the landscape. Let's go into the top view by pressing Command 1 and J to go into parallel projection mode, where we can see a site plan. I'd like to create the representation of a curved path on the landscape itself. To do this, it's a two-step process. First, we have to sketch in the path in plan, and then we'll drape that onto the landscape itself. I'd like to create a curved path, so I'm going to use the Bezier Spline toolbox for that. I'll just go over here. Now I'll use a classic Bezier curve. And I want to be careful that I don't actually snap it to the landscape itself, thereby making a three-dimensional curve. Instead, I want to be sure that I have a two-dimensional curve so that I can make a face. So just to be safe, I'm going to go over here on the side and sketch it in without being over the landscape. And then I'm just going to make some type of curve, and then I'll copy it using the Move tool over to the side a little bit so that we have a path that has some thickness to it. And then I'll go ahead and connect the dots to create a closed loop so that SketchUp will make a surface for us. I'll just reverse this face. Next, select it and move it over so that it's on top of the landscape. But make sure that it's above it as well. So I'm going to orbit, go into perspective mode by pressing J. I'll move it up in the blue direction by pressing the up arrow to lock the blue inference. So this pathway is flat and it's hovering above the landscape. Then I'll go ahead and use the Drape tool and click on the landscape to have that geometry projected onto the surface. Now I can go ahead and get rid of this floating path and take a look at this area here within the group. Double-click to open the group, and you can select that individually, so that means I can apply a different material to it. I'll go ahead and press B for the paint bucket, choose a color, and click on it to go ahead and paint that. If you want to color the entire landscape, you can do so with a script called Color by Z by Chris Fulmer, and it works like this. I'm going to go into this group by double-clicking on it. Then I'm going to select the landscape surfaces that I want to color. In this case, there are two. I need to hold down the Shift key and get this other one as well. Then I'll go up to the Plugins menu and choose Color by Z, and I'm prompted to select the highest Z value color in the RGB color space. So these numbers vary from 0 to 255. 0 is nothing, it's black, and 255 is full saturation. So if we want this to vary from red to blue, we'll go from 255 in red to 255 in blue, and all the other channels will be 0. Okay. We get a progress bar down here at the bottom. When that's done, the landscape will be colored in as a function of elevation.